If you want to understand the success of a giant restoration project, look to the birds. The restoration of Riverby Ranch in Texas is the largest permittee-responsible restoration of its kind in North America. It spans 15,000 acres as part of the North Texas Municipal Water District's Bois Lake Mitigation Project.
One of the really unique things about this place is that the sheer size of it, roughly 15,000 acres out here, that was all intensively farmed or grazed. By taking it out of pasture land and cropland production, we basically had an open palette to start designing a mosaic of habitats to enhance the value to wildlife of all taxa.
So why start with birds?
In some regards, the best indicator of whether restoration is successful is the bird life and animals that it attracts. Because if the ecosystem is functioning properly, you're going to get a diverse community of animals and birds. So we're specifically looking at the bird communities, which are considered the top level predators or the apex predators. So if the apex predators are healthy, then it's a good indicator that the entire ecosystem is functioning and healthy.
This particular restoration project, being done at such a huge scale, is a first. So understanding what success looks like requires research, testing, partners, and lots of patience.
So we partnered with one university in particular, University of North Texas. Their biology department has master students. We've got one master student right now who's working out here. And we have partnered with them to come out here and study the changes in the avian species composition over time.
I am currently a graduate student at UNT. I met Matt at a conference. Something in my bones just said, stay afterwards and talk to him. I said, do you have anyone to monitor birds? He's like, no, we need someone to do that. And so I was like, I can do that.
Tessa's research includes 2 studies, comparing how the prairie grassland and wetland bird populations on Riverby Ranch are changing over time, and how they compare to neighboring areas that are not being restored. In order to cover the 15,000 acres at the ranch, Tessa committed 2 summers to her research.
During the summer, that's where a lot of the hard work comes from, because I've got to be out walking transects, doing point counts at certain points at certain times for a certain amount of time. I will be comparing the 2 seasons, so summer 1, summer 2, and seeing if there is a population increase, which would be great, but even if it stays steady, it's also great.
At 5 a.m. each summer morning, she starts her miles-long daily journey to the transects, built to scientifically track the bird sightings. In total on the ranch, there are 25 transects, each 1,000 meters long, that include 4 to 6 points of monitoring in each transect. Every day, she is able to cover 2 to 3 transects before the birds settle down because of the heat.
I've observed many different signs of successful reproduction out here, especially in the dickcissel populations. They can be found pretty much anywhere across the whole restoration site, which is really great news. I have found freshly built nests, nests with eggs, and large flocks of juveniles at the end of the season. This is great news because these guys are a species of concern due to habitat loss, but especially in terms of their habitat for breeding. I have also seen some umbrella species out here, which was probably the most exciting day. I documented one northern bobwhite quail out here. While there was only one, at least we know he's interested in this area and is looking for a mate. I have also seen upland sandpipers, And the fact that they're here shows that the ecosystem is functioning properly and that the habitat is suitable for many other birds as well.
Sighting multiple umbrella species is very good news for the health of the restoration. Where umbrella species thrive, that means the many other species that make up the ecological community of its habitat can also thrive alongside them. Some observations were more of a surprise than others.
Those leaves turned, they would come right in front of me and swoop down and catch little mosquito fish and then jump up. And you could see it all happening. They do it so fast and and they're so small. And I loved watching them. I was always excited when they came around.
The health of these birds depends on availability of what they eat and what protective cover they have from predators, all of which this wetland restoration was able to provide.
I think that the neatest thing about the wetlands that we've restored out here is to watch the bottom trophic levels, to use an ecologist term, bottom of the pyramid, bottom of the food web, start to come back and build. First it was the bugs and the insects. I can remember one evening, and it was a dark night, no moon, and Brandon flipped the lights off on the UTV that we were driving, and it looked like we were just surrounded by a cloud of stars. There were thousands of lightning bugs. And then you started to see the dragonflies come back, and all of those other macroinvertebrates started to build. And then we started to notice a plague of frogs. All of a sudden the amphibians started to expand. And then this last week we had a bunch of herpetologists out here looking for snakes, and they were blown away by how well fed the snakes were, obviously because they were eating the frogs that had been eating the bugs, and so forth and so on. The wetlands are really building back the food web out here.
So far, in this first phase of restoration, over 100 species of birds have been observed on Riverby Ranch, many of which are species of high conservation concern in Texas.
How long is it going to take for us to know that we have a fully successful restoration? Well, we're focusing on the prairie and the emergent wetlands, which we feel will respond very quickly. And indeed, our data, although we're still in the process of collecting it and analyzing it, has already showed a huge number of birds of prey, raptor use, good populations of birds. So the preliminary indication is that the diversity and the amount of biomass, especially at the upper trophic levels, the upper predator levels, are responding very quickly.
And while the wetland and grasslands food web and healthy birds are an early indicator of successful restoration at Riverby Ranch, the forests are next. It's expected that as the thousands of acres of upland, riparian, and wetland forest habitats mature, the number of bird species that seasonally visit on their migrations or that permanently reside on the ranch will more than double.
This has everything that the birds are looking for. It's got all the little macroinvertebrates, the little snails, the little worms. There's even some mosquito fish in here. All kinds of food for the birds and lots of nesting habitat around them.
Plant, test, measure. There's a constant learning on a restoration site this large, and the findings will benefit not just this project, but will be shared with the ecological and educational communities at large for future projects and future generations to understand what works.
This can contribute to the knowledge of restoration, just another habitat that's similar to what's here at Riverby can also use their same restoration practices because of the study that I'm doing can show that it's working.
We're going to take everything we've learned here as far as the technologies that we've developed, the techniques that we've tried and learned from, the failures as well as the successes, and we're going to scale it up again in order to do things even more effectively and efficiently on the next large-scale project.
the most beautiful thing about this area and this project. Res is offering the ability to really show how to do things. And I think that the birds being here and the plants and everything that's happening is a great indication of what works in North Texas prairie and wetlands. And that's valuable information.
From making the right partnerships, to investing in future generations, to sharing our research, we at RES are in direct alignment with the UN Decade on Restoration. That's a 10-year movement to help give our planet the boost it needs to be more resilient alongside human progress. Both RES and this movement have a shared commitment to make life on land and water more sustainable and to inform and inspire the next generation of environmental professionals, what they call Generation Restoration.
It's nature talking to you as long as you know how to listen to it. And she's telling you what's going on, and you just have to know to listen.